Here are some original quotation or text from the novel An American Brat. I'm really worried about Feroza, who is saying these words are uttered by Zareen, who is the mother of Feroza, to her husband Cyrus, right? I am very worried, I'm really worried about Feroza. So, what's wrong? Cyrus inquired consciously, his voice conveying just the right thing of mild concern. So her husband is asking, what's wrong? What's the problem? Why you are worried about Feroza? So then again, Zareen says she's becoming more and more backward every day. And this backwardness was because of General Ziaul fundamentalism. So she's very much worried. That's the problem, right? Now, Zareen says she won't even answer the phone anymore. She's talking about her daughter, Feroza. What if it is someone I don't know? Zareen mimicked her daughter in English. I told her, don't be silly. No one is going to jump out of the phone to bite you. So that she's also worried because even her daughter Feroza, she was not picking up the phone when she's asked by her mother, right, to pick up the phone. So our mother says, I told her, don't be silly. No one is going to jump out of the phone to bite you. So that's because that Feroza became very conservative. Right? And on the other hand, her mother, she is liberal, right? So Zareen is liberal while Feroza, she became conservative. And that's because she's influenced by Zia's fundamentalism. Zareen continued. I went to bring Feroza from school today. I was chatting with Mother Superior on veranda. She was out enjoying the sun and I had removed my cardigan. Feroza pretended she didn't know me. So why did Feroza pretend that she didn't know her mother? Because of the liberal dress her mother was wearing. So she was, again, we can say that she was influenced by Zia's fundamentalism, and then at school all of her friends, all of the friends of Feroza were Muslims, and they were also influenced by Zia's fundamentalism. And her mother Zareen wanted Feroza to become a little bit liberal, right? In the car she said, Mummy, please don't come to school dressed like that. Right? So her daughter Feroza is telling her mother, they don't come after me to school to dress like that. So it shows that on the one hand, her daughter Feroza is conservative because of Zia's fundamentalism. On the other hand, her mother Zareen is liberal. So she objected to my sleeveless sari blouse. So actually that Zareen is telling the story to her husband Cyrus about their daughter Feroza. Really, this narrow-minded attitude touted by General Zia's infecting her too. I told her, look, we are Parsi. So Parsi is a small community, right? Living in Pakistan also, like in Lahore or some part of Sindh province. And they actually came from ancient Persia, from Iran, right? And Zoroaster is their prophet. So I told her, look, we are Parsi and everybody knows we dress differently than Muslims, right? But actually that her daughter was not accepting such things. Now her mother Zareen says, when I was her age, I wore a frock and cycled to Kenar College. And that was in 1950 and 60. 15 years after partition. Can she wear frocks? No. Women mustn't show their legs. Women shouldn't dress like this. And women shouldn't act like that. Girls mustn't play hockey or sing or dance. If everything corrupts their pious little mind so easily, then the mullah should wear burqas and stay within the four walls of their houses. So that is the comments of Zareen, right, about the mullahs. Because mullahs were instructed that women shouldn't play hockey, they shouldn't sing, they shouldn't dance, right? And girls, like here, shouldn't dress like this, women shouldn't act like that. So if everything corrupts the mind, the little minds so easily, then the mullah should wear burqas and stay within the four walls of their house. Why these mullahs then outside? That is her comments, right? So actually that Sidva, she's also against of this fundamentalism which exists within Islam. And she's also against that fundamentalism which exists where, which religion? The religion, Parsi religion, right? In Pakistan, politics with its special brew of martial law and religion influence every aspect of day-to-day living. Again, that is the comment of Zareen. So actually that you can see that how like Parsi community, they are taking active part in the politics of Pakistan and they are well aware of this. We will talk about also the themes of this novel. So she's saying that in Pakistan, politics with its special brew of martial law and religion influence every aspect of day-to-day living. It's absurd how things have changed. I was really hopeful when Bhutto was elected. Who's saying? Zareen is saying to her husband. For the first time, I felt it didn't matter that I was not a Muslim. So it means, right, when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was ruling over Pakistan, so minority was also happy, right? Because Parsi is a community that's in minority in Pakistan. So she says, I felt it didn't matter that I was not a Muslim. So it means that in the time of Zia, it matters a lot that she was not a Muslim, right? So hard time for Parsi community in Zia's time. Or that I was a woman, right? So because being a woman, you see, you enjoyed all kind of liberty in Bhutto's time. So it shows that in Bhutto times, right, Bhutto was also a liberal person. You remember when he told the women in Peshawar to sit with the man, that took guts. So she's talking about Zulfikar Ali Bhutto liberalism and she is telling to her husband. They do remember what happens in Peshawar? That was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto who told the women in Peshawar to sit with the man. Right? So Zulfikar Ali, actually that she likes Zulfikar Ali Bhutto because Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was a liberal one. And she doesn't like General Ziaul Haq, right? That who was imposing a kind of fundamental rules of Islam like everyone who was living in Pakistan, right? So that was the issue, the problem. I think Feroza is confused by these sudden switches in attitude. She probably feels she has to conform, be like her Muslim friends because in her surrounding, all of her friends are Muslims. So there are hardly any Parsi girl her age. She wants you to be like her friends, mothers. That's all. I'll tell you one thing though. Cyrus twisted his neck to follow Zareen's restless passage across the room. Zia or no Zia. I would much prefer she stay narrow-minded and decently dressed than go roaming about looking fast and loose. So you can see that Cyrus is also against the thoughts of her wife Zareen, right? He's telling her, I'll tell you one thing though. Cyrus twisted his neck to follow Zareen's restless passage across the room. Zia or no Zia. I would much prefer she stay narrow-minded and decently dressed than go roaming about looking fast and loose, right? That was his comment on the entire thoughts of Zareen. What do you mean? Demanded Zareen, turning from straightening the portrait of Zoroaster. Zoroaster is the prophet of Parsi community, to glower threateningly at her recumbent spouse, right? So you see that there's all the time a novel conflict in the thoughts between Cyrus and Zareen, right? If you think I'm going to cater to this Mulay's mentality of yours, you are mistaken, she said, slamming the door shut. I'll dress the way my mother dresses, and I'll dress the way my grandmothers dressed. And no one's even called the jungle swala women indecent. Right? So again you can see that she doesn't agree with the thought of her husband Cyrus, right? And Cyrus has like a soft attitude towards his daughter, what she was doing. Jana. Zareen used the endearment persuasively. I think we should send Feroza to America for a short holiday. She'll be taking her matric exam in a few days. She's been so depressed lately. You're right, it's these politics. When Dorab Patel, one of the 7 judges on the Supreme Court bench, who was distantly related to Cyrus, had told them how Bhutto was being treated in jail, and how then he had become they had all been depressed, right? So it was the story of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, how he was put in jail and how hard time he had in jail. I think Feroza must get away, Zareen continued, right? So she's insisting that she must be sent to America. Just for 3 or 4 months, Manik can look after her. Travel will broaden her outlook, get this puritanical rubbish out of her head, right? So puritanical rubbish out of her head. So puritanical mean, okay, something that is related to Puritanism, right? Or like fundamentalism, or like the extreme way of doing something. Fine. Manik was Zareen's younger brother, only 6 years older than her daughter Feroza. Considering the furthest Feroza or Zareen had ever traveled was across the border to Bombay. The suggestion to send their daughter off by herself to United States was audacious. Zareen looked at her husband anxiously. Outside their room, the night was full of unfamiliar smells and alien sound that kept Feroza's eyes wide awake and her breath tentative. So she was living with her boyfriend that was belonged to a Jewish community. She fell asleep to the shrill array cry of sirens that patrolled New York, just when she was convinced she would never sleep at all, right? So now Feroza, she is in America and she is fascinated with the charm and beauty of America. She adopts American culture. She gained a lot of freedom, right? So every aspect of her life changed now. And even that in Parsi community, she was not allowed to get married outside of her Parsi community, but she was involved with a Jewish person who belonged to a Jewish community. So that was the summary of An American Brat, where we find that how the life of Feroza changed. She was a shy girl and she was very restricted, and you see that she was very much conservative, but when her parents sent her to America, that she would live there for a few months and her perception would change, because she became very conservative in Pakistan. She was living in Lahore, and because of Zia's fundamentalism, so they wanted that her perception should change, right? And she becomes liberal. But when she goes to America, there she becomes a spoiled child. That's why we call it American Brat. So, in a nutshell, we can say that anybody that who's living a restricted life in a culture, and then he or she goes to America, and then he or she is fascinated with this alien culture, so she or he adopts that culture. So the same happened also with this little girl, Feroza, who is a teenager. We will talk more about this novel. We will talk about the main themes, and we will have some discussion on the summary and the plot, right? And we will also talk about the some of the information related to the author, that is Babsi Sidwa. So keep watching and enjoy learning with Muhammad Imran. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. Thank you so much.